Hi, everybody. Sorry, I have not had my daily broadcast for a few days since Sunday. It's Thursday. I had to take a break. I was in I was in Palm Springs through Tuesday, and then kind of had to chill out and just rest up the last few days. It is Thursday, November the 12th, and we are so excited that we have President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. The Trump administration and Trump, I should say, Trump is still refusing to concede or even congratulate Joe Biden, but that's okay. That's who he is. That's a reflection of him as a person. Anyway, let's get started. Actually, it's great going to see an old friend. Used to play basketball with Jeff Helmer today at CC's. I know I'm going out. I haven't gone out very much, but hey, good to see you, good friend. It is. It's fall and winter in Seattle. Oh my goodness, look at that. Is that depressing or what? You look at the 10-day forecast and it's rain, 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 rain. Okay, let's move on. Here we at. So currently, Joe Biden has 279 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 217. If you look at the popular vote, Joe Biden has over 555 million votes to Donald Trump's 72,349,000 votes, 349,000 votes. Joe Biden has a lead of over 5.2 million votes, which is way more than Hillary had. Hillary had like about 3 million more votes than Biden. And at the end of the day, because I think they're still counting votes in California, we believe that Biden will probably have almost 7 million more votes than Trump. Again, we're still counting the states of Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Let's look at that in a little more detail. Arizona, they have 99% of the vote in, and Joe Biden leads by less than 12,000 votes. Georgia, 99% of the vote in. Biden leads by about 14,000 votes. Okay, 14,000 votes. So they just announced, the Secretary of State of Georgia just announced a hand recount, which will be done, I believe, by November the 20th. In the history of recounts in Georgia, they've never had an election overturned with that number of votes, 14,000 votes. So it's not going to happen, okay? North Carolina, it definitely looks like Trump should win that state. He has a lead of about over 100,000 votes, I think. No, wait, 263, 40. Oh, wait. So it's about 37 plus 36, about 70,000 votes. So he's going to win. So Arizona and Georgia will go to Biden, and North Carolina will go to Trump. Here is the projected final electoral college map after all those states are called. We believe that Arizona and Georgia will go for Biden, and North Carolina will go for Trump. The final electoral college votes is 306, and the final electoral for Biden and Harris, the final electoral college vote for Trump is 232. And guess what? That was exactly the electoral college votes in 2016. Trump Pence had 306, Clinton had 232. Ironic, isn't it? And then Trump obviously said, we wanted a fucking landslide, the biggest landslide in electoral college history, which wasn't true. So we have to remind him that. So we're going to go through a couple stories here. Biden, obviously, since Trump is not conceding or his administration is not cooperating, providing Biden-Harris transition team with any resources or access to the different agencies, he's still proceeding with staffing plans. So let's look at the previous news hour report on this.
This has been a day for honoring America's military veterans amid the political war over the presidential race. President Trump still shows no sign of conceding to President-elect Biden or of following legal guidelines for a change of leadership. Lisa Desjardins begins our coverage.
Rain fell at a Veterans Day ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, where President Trump made his first public appearance since the Associated Press called his re-election defeat over the weekend. He attended a wreath laying and saluted at the tomb of the unknown soldier, but did not speak. In Philadelphia, President-elect Joe Biden made his own Veterans Day stop. He and the future First Lady, Jill Biden, laid a wreath at a Korean War memorial, but he too had no public comment. The day's solemn ceremonies unfolded against the backdrop of Mr. Trump's refusal to recognize the election results or commence the transition. On Twitter, the president continued to make unsupported claims of voter fraud in states where he lost or is trailing.
Good morning, everyone.
One of those states is Georgia, where the Secretary of State today announced a hand recount of all ballots in the presidential race.
I'm sure that there'll be plenty of oversight. We want to make sure that both parties have the opportunity to observe this because we understand the stakes are high.
Mr. Biden leads in Georgia by about 14,000 votes. The recount comes after the Georgia Republican Party and the state's entire Republican congressional delegation sent a letter to the Secretary of State alleging fraud without evidence. They asked him to investigate, quote, serious allegations of voting irregularities in both the presidential and the two U.S. Senate races there. Those two Senate races are headed for runoffs in January. The Trump campaign also continues to file legal challenges to the presidential vote count. Today, it sued Michigan to try and block the state from certifying Joe Biden's win, which it is scheduled to do on November 23rd. He leads there by more than 140,000 votes. President Trump did score one victory today. The Associated Press formally called Alaska for him, increasing his electoral vote count to 217.
And Lisa joins us now from Wilmington, Delaware, and Yamiche Alcindor is at the White House. Hello to both of you. Lisa, to you first. This is the first day, I guess Joe Biden has not made public remarks since he was declared the president-elect, but we know the transition planning continues. Tell us where that stands.
Not a day off for the Biden transition, Judy, that's for sure. They have more than 4,000 positions, about that many, to appoint in government, and they're on their way going through that list. Judy, it's interesting. I talked to an advisor yesterday who told me that the way they're going about that is to look at the policy, try and find the people who will best enact policies that Joe Biden wants, from health care and supporting the Affordable Care Act to climate change to a range of other things, including the minimum wage. And on that front, I can also report that we do think that they will start announcing some potential top staff, starting at the top with the chief of staff, and that announcement for the White House chief of staff under President Biden when he takes over could come as early as this week. Also, Judy, at the U.S. Senate, there's a lot of swirl around several senators, many of Mr. Biden's former opponents, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, about whether they would take positions in this administration. One final note, speaking of the Senate, I talked to a Republican Senate office, allies of President Trump, who tell me one reason they're not speaking out publicly about whether the president should accept the results is because they think they can do more behind the scenes. This office tells me their conservative senator spoke to President Trump on the phone and told him, of course, from their opinion, continue whatever questions you have to raise. But ultimately, this senator asked the president to do what's right when the time comes.
And we will be talking with Senator Sanders in just a few moments. Yamiche, to you now. We know the president has also not spoken publicly. We've seen the tweets. We've seen him just now. But we know that his team is still very much trying to win some battles in the court, challenging the results. Where does all that stand?
Well, President Trump's refusal and his Trump campaign's refusal to acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president-elect and to continue to file lawsuit after lawsuit comes down to two big things: politics and money. On the money side, they are raising boatloads of money, thousands of dollars every day by sending out text messages and emails, messaging that they need to keep up the fight, that they want to have money for an election defense fund. But when you look at the money being raised, it tells a story. So to put up for folks, 60% of that money goes to Save America PAC. It's a political action committee. And then after that, if someone donates thousands of dollars more, that money then goes to the Trump recount account. Now, this is important. This kind of account, the political action committee, it faces fewer restrictions on how the money is spent. Unlike candidate campaign accounts, the money that can be raised here can be spent on personal expenses. The other thing to note is if 40% of it goes to the Republican National Committee, this money can go to benefit potential other Republican candidates. Critics say that this is really a slush fund and that it can go to funding President Trump's lavish lifestyle. I also want to talk about the politics of this. The margins are just not on President Trump's side. Republican allies of the president told me that today. We want to look at the popular vote margins in these states that are still being contested by the Trump administration and the Trump campaign. In Michigan in 2016, President Trump won by 10,000 votes. Joe Biden is leading by more than 146,000. In Pennsylvania, he won by 44,000 in 2016. 50,000 is what Biden is leading by. In Wisconsin, 22,000 is what President Trump won by. He's leading President-elect Joe Biden by 20,000. So those numbers tell a story. They say, and older establishment Republicans tell me, the numbers really just are not going to work out for the president, while younger Republicans are continuing to work day and night to try to find more voters so that they can get people that will overturn those margins. But it's just a really, really uphill battle.
And Yamiche, we know with regard that Georgia is going to have a hand recount. What do we know about President Trump's involvement in that?
President Trump is continuing to pressure Republicans all over the country, including in Georgia, to really publicly challenge the integrity of the election. Now, the Georgia Secretary of State was out just a few minutes ago saying that the White House has not contacted him directly to pressure him to do any sort of recount. But the Trump campaign sees that recount as a huge win. They want to see that the president might be able to wrestle it back. But as you noted, Joe Biden is winning by 14,000 votes, so it'll be tough.
And finally, quickly to you, Lisa, the fact that there will be a narrower margin for Democrats in the House, waiting to see what happens in the Senate until January, what does that mean for Biden planning?
Judy, quickly, the new Senate convenes January 3rd. The Georgia election is January 5th. That is going to make it tricky to organize the Senate, and we're going to have to watch it closely.
And we thank both of you standing in the rain, Lisa Desjardins in Wilmington, Yamiche Alcindor at the White House. We appreciate it.
That was a good story about what's going on currently in terms of how Biden's proceeding with his transition team staffing. And obviously he's not letting the Trump and his administration's his non-cooperation in terms of gaining access to the current agencies. It is what it is. Okay, here's a good one. We love Mayor Pete. I think Mayor Pete's definitely going to be probably named the cabinet secretary, maybe Health and Human Services, or excuse me, maybe Homeland Security. I believe Homeland Security might be the best opportunity for Mayor Pete, given his experience in the Defense Department, or actually as a military person in Afghanistan. But here, Chris Wallace meets his match with Pete Buttigieg. We love Mayor Pete. So here's Mayor Pete with Fox News's Chris Wallace.
Well, let's talk about COVID relief. Millions of Americans, as you well know, are desperate for that. And the lame duck Congress is going to take that up. At this point, they're deadlocked. Will the president-elect, as his new position, unofficial, and as the head of the Democratic Party, will he work with Congress to try to broker a deal, or is he going to wait 10 weeks until January 20th?
Well, I think we all want to see something happen, and he'll have to make the decisions based on what he believes is right, not only for the presidency that he will be building in January, but recognizing that he is now the president-elect and already a very important leadership position for the country. I think we all hope that that logjam in Washington comes to an end. and we'll be eager to see what progress can be made before and going into the administration.
It looks likely, not certain, but likely that Republicans are going to hold on to the Senate. It's going to come down to two special elections in Georgia, and Republicans will be favored in both if Republicans hold the Senate. If the majority leader is Mitch McConnell, isn't that really going to hurt some of the boldest parts of the Biden agenda, things like a public option for health care or raising taxes by $4 trillion?
Well, again, first of all, Georgia has proven itself to be extraordinarily competitive. And so with the two fantastic candidates, Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff, that we have running, I have every expectation that it'll be a competitive race and that we can very well take the majority in the Senate. If that doesn't happen, at the end of the day, again, the thing we have going for us is that the American people are with us. We're not just talking about the House of Representatives and the White House. We're also talking about the strong majority of the American people, an even stronger majority than the one that brought Joe Biden to office. When we talk about some of the things you just mentioned, making sure that corporations and the wealthy pay their fair share, making sure that we expand access to health care. And so the McConnell caucus, the Republican caucus in the Senate, will have to decide whether it wants to continue facing down the American people and standing in the way of what America wants, which I think would be a decision strategically to make the Republican Party a party of minority rule? Or is there a willingness to reach across the aisle and get something done? Now, if we know one thing about President-elect Biden, it's that he's somebody who has that instinct of getting things done, reaching across the aisle, especially in a place like the Senate. And I think that's going to be exactly the set of attributes that will be so important to getting anything done at all.
But as you well know, the founders created checks and balances, divided or a balanced government, three branches. If you're Mitch McConnell, who just got elected, if you return, I understand it's a thought experiment, with a Republican majority, they're going to say there was no agenda. There was no public mandate for a public option. There was no mandate for raising taxes $4 trillion. The country allowed us to retain the Senate.
Yeah, the structure of the Senate is such, for better or for worse, that you can have a Senate majority that disagrees with the majority of the American people. But then Mitch McConnell's going to have a decision to make. Is his purpose in Washington to defy the American people, who, along with the president and the House of Representatives, will believe in expanding, not taking away health care, ensuring that the wealthy pay their fair share in taxes instead of slashing their taxes no matter what, raising wages, treating climate change as real? In other words, Mitch McConnell's going to have to decide whether he wants to help move this country forward and influence progress, or whether he wants to stop progress. If he chooses to do that, I'm fearful not only that the Republican Party would pay a devastating price politically, but that the American people would pay a price that we can't afford to pay because we need action.
Well, let's talk about a much more serious and more immediate conflict. President Trump, as you know, continues to say that this election is stolen, that there was rampant fraud, and he intends to pursue legal challenges, he says, starting Monday in courts across the country. Here is the president.
Historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. As everybody saw, we won by historic numbers, and the pollsters got it knowingly wrong.
How much harder will it be for President-elect Biden to keep his pledge to bring the country together if President Trump continues to say and to contest the legitimacy of this election?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons you see the president-elect already reaching out to those who didn't vote for him. And he didn't just say, give me a chance, or just say, I'm going to give you a chance. He said, let's give each other a chance. And that's an example of how he's beginning the work of healing the nation right away, not wasting any time to do it. Look, even in these last days of his presidency, the current president, has a chance to show leadership, to act as the person who loses every presidential election in our history has done, and do his part to help move this country forward and bring us together. We've not seen that so far, and that's unfortunate.
I was going to say, and if he doesn't, Mayor Buttigieg?
Well, then it really comes down to his supporters. And look, this is a tough time. I've been on the losing side of many elections, and especially in a polarized country like this. I know that there are a lot of folks who supported the current president, who, maybe almost everyone in your neighborhood and your church and your Facebook circle of friends feels the same way, to where it's very hard to believe or accept that he's not popular. In the same way that 4 years ago, I had a lot of liberal friends who couldn't believe, literally couldn't believe, that Donald Trump had the support of more than a quarter of the country, let alone almost half, as he proved to do. But the simple reality is that President Trump has never had the support of a majority of the American people. And this is the reality of where America is and where the election results are. In terms of the popular vote, it wasn't even close. In terms of the electoral college vote, the results are clear. And the best thing we have going for us, no matter what this president says or does, whether in the last days of his presidency he rises to his responsibility or not, we know this much, which is there is a strong will among the American people, even those who voted the other way going into this election, to make sure that we come together, tackle COVID, make the economy fair, ensure the wealthy pay their fair share in taxes, expand healthcare. In other words, exactly the agenda that got Joe Biden and Kamala.
There is only one America. No Democratic rivers. No Republican mountains. Just this great land. And all that's possible on it, with a fresh start. Cures we can find, futures we can shape, work to reward, dignity to protect. There is so much we can do if we choose to take on problems and not each other, and choose a president who brings out our best. Joe Biden doesn't need everyone in this country to always agree. Just to agree, we all love this country. And go from there.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Scranton, Pennsylvania. Here, success isn't handed down. It's forged with sweat, grit, and determination. This is his hometown. In Scranton, good times aren't promised. But here and in towns across America, times are harder than they ought to be. Lives on pause, dreams on hold, futures in doubt. He's running to change that, to give working people the shot they deserve, an honest living for honest work, and a little peace of mind at the end of the day. Because this place stays with him. These streets are part of him. This is more than where he's from. It's who he's for.
Your hometown. This is your hometown.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Okay, threw another ad in there because I love that one, hometown ad. Anyway, hopefully everyone, we're looking forward to a President-elect Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris administration. Screw Trump. Fuck him. Fuck him. Okay, sorry for using French, but you know what? He's acting like a six-year-old. He's acting like an 8-year-old. It's like, can you possibly? And the thing about it, and my soapbox, I can't believe 70 million people voted for this asshole. I really don't. I mean, that's part of me that is very disappointed in America that 70 million people voted for this fucking asshole. I just can't believe it. Okay, sorry. But you know what? We have President-elect Joe Biden. That's all that matters. Have a good day, guys. Have a happy Thursday. Bye-bye.